Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Now, in this video, we're going to be going over the 2023 governor's elections.
Yeah, so there's three important governor's elections. There's a few more other elections scattered around the country, but these are for really significant statewide office. Obviously, they're the chief executive of the state, similar to like a president in their state. And we have three really important ones. They're all sort of like categorized as in the South: Kentucky, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Obviously, Mississippi and Louisiana more so. And it's interesting because these three states have a really Republican partisan lean. They're all to the right of the country by quite a bit. In presidential years, they're not really looked at. No one really cares about them at all because they always vote consistently Republican. On statewide offices like senator, for example, they also vote consistently Republican. They send a overwhelmingly Republican House delegation to the Congress. So most people don't really care about them, but in the 2023 or off-year elections, because they're not midterm or presidential year, gubernatorial elections happen, and these are a lot more interesting. So let's start with Kentucky.
Well, Kentucky is actually, for being a Republican state, it is currently held by a Democrat Andy Beshear. He was able to win in 2019 for a variety of reasons. Like part of it was the backlash to Trump, because usually there's backlash to the incumbent president. He's the son of a former governor, so that Beshear name has been quite popular in the state. And also, he was running against, at the time, the most unpopular Republican governor in the U.S., and I believe that was Matt Bevin. So Andy Beshear was able to win that race barely by a margin of 0.4, and now he's the governor of Kentucky today. So on to the 2023 election. Andy Beshear's in a great position for a Democrat in such red territory. He's the highest approval of any Democratic governor in any state, I believe. Like, what is it? He's at 60% favorability rating and 34% disapprove of him. That's what, plus 26? That's kind of nuts. I mean, for being in Kentucky, I think part of that it's got to be related to his handling of disasters in the state. There was like those tornadoes in 2021 and the flooding in 2022, and he kind of oversaw all of that and oversaw like the process of getting federal aid to Kentucky, and I think that really boosted his popularity. And this isn't like a conservative Democrat; this is a standard Democrat in Kentucky, thriving. So good on him; he's getting stuff done. But now looking at this, like the actual election, who his competition could be, we have, I think, top of the list here is Daniel Cameron. At least he's leading in the first two polls we have, and he's endorsed by Trump. The Attorney General of Kentucky seems to be an African American, so I mean they get the brownie points. The Republicans, kudos to them. Bit of diversity there. And then they're also running Kelly Croft, Mike Harmon, Ryan Quarles. So they have a diverse range of candidates here holding statewide office. They have a former ambassador to the United Nations and Kelly Craft here. I mean, I don't know. They have decent statewide candidates. It looks like they're running them too. So it's going to be like, I assume it's going to be like Daniel Cameron, I think will take it. It looks like he'll take the primary here based on the early polling and the Trump endorsement. I think Daniel Cameron's going to be up against Andy Beshear. They both won statewide before. Beshear's a popular Democrat, but Cameron will have the backlash from Biden being president. So I don't know. This is definitely going to be a really close one. I feel. Do you have any thoughts?
I actually don't think it's going to be this close. I think Beshear is going to win by a likely margin, in my opinion. Definitely over 5 points for now, at least. I think, yes, Biden does sort of have the backlash, but Democrats proved that they can overcome that in the 2022 midterms. They proved that individual races, especially more localized races like governorships, with Laura Kelly in Kansas, for example. They're able to overcome the Biden unpopularity. And Biden's image has gotten slightly better over the past few weeks, I would say, since the 2022 midterms. Bashir is obviously very, very popular. And Cameron's going to give him a run for his money, and I'm not saying this is a race that's over in any case, but I think for now, until Cameron really steps up his game, this is going to be one for Bashir to lose. He has no real challenge in his primary. All the Democrats will be united with him. A lot of independents will be with him, and even Republicans, obviously, with all his popularity. So I think it's a likely race, but what do you think?
I mean, you bring up a good point with like Laura Kelly. She's a Democrat who was able to win in a conservative state in 2022. But I don't know. Seeing as this is going to be 2023, I think it comes a little bit out of the national spotlight. Like there's going to be a little less like help for Bashir, like a less turnout, like less attention. And that I think is, and obviously the abortion argument, Democrats like Roe was overturned. I feel like a lot of that momentum is going to be lost by 2023, and I think that'll hurt Bashir's chances. And I will say, I mean, Kansas is ever so slightly to the left of Kentucky. I mean, it's still a red state, so I mean that obviously factors in also. So I think right now Bashir's favored. I'll say lean Democrat. I think he'll win by like 2 or 3 points as right now.
2 or 3.
But I'm not. Yeah, it's still like when you factor it all in, like especially like with like I think the abortion message is really gonna fall off over time because like I think short attention span, American politics. I think the Roe messaging makes like kind of lose its effectiveness going into 2023 a little bit. So I don't really see that like helping him too much. And it's still Kentucky. Like Kentucky's deep red. Like despite all the things he had going for him in 2019, he won by like 0.4%. I mean, now he's an incumbent, which is different, but still, I mean, I don't know. I think it's lean. So how are we gonna break this here? Because like I'm lean, you're like lean.
We can just put it as lean. I don't really care too much on this one. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's fine to put as a lean. Like it's not exactly like definitely either category. It's only January. We have a long way to go. I don't really care about I don't care about the ratings until usually like primary season. Like after primaries, I feel like it's a lot more important to really care about the ratings. But for now, it's general is what it is. It's kind of like a first look. We can go to sorry, not Michigan, Mississippi next. Mississippi. It's weird because like I feel like Mississippi should have the MI, but it has MS for some reason because Michigan steals MI. But either way, Mississippi is far less interesting than Kentucky. That's 100% for sure, and that's just because there's a incumbent Republican, so there's not exactly an established Democrat in the race that can pose a challenge to the partisan lean of the state. We also have the fact that he's not exactly the most popular governor, which can play a role. If we look down here, we'll see that we have to go all the way down to the bottom 10 to find Tate Reeves, and he's not even at 50% popularity, which is not a great look, especially for someone in such a deep red state. I mean, Mississippi is not like extremely deep red. It's not like Wyoming or anything, but it's definitely down. It's definitely redder than a lot of states in the country, and he's really a standard Republican in most policy positions, but he's still quite unpopular for a governor because people usually like their governors, and that could pose a challenge to him. We've seen some Republicans looking at a potential run. They're looking at it, and it's not exactly a good look for him, especially when the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the state, which you're supposed to be working with as a governor, the Attorney General, who you're supposed to be working with as a governor, who are supposed to be your allies, and when they are going to run against you, that is not a good look. And a bad primary could tip the scales in the general, or if you lose the primary, that's an entirely different governor, even if it's the same party. They can do a lot of different things. So this race isn't over by any means, but it's very likely a Republican to be held for now.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't think Democrats have many strong candidates in Mississippi. They did have a pretty strong candidate in I think it was Jim Hood going into 2019, but they still lost by 6 points against Tate Reeves because at the time Jim Hood was like he was like the only Democrat like statewide elected official in Mississippi. But yeah, he lost that against Tate Reeves. Tate Reeves won that in 2019. I don't Democrats are probably not going to have a candidate of that quality for a long time in Mississippi. Of that quality for a long time in Mississippi. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think Republicans are favored, but I mean, anything could happen if Tate Reeves gets heavily challenged by like one of these other Republicans, like the Secretary of State, the leader of the House of Representatives of Mississippi. That could throw a wrench in their plans. Right now, the Democrats seem to be running Brandon Presley, related to Elvis, actually, which I find very
They're
interesting.
cousins.
Yeah, I believe I heard Brandon Presley is a little more of a conservative Democrat, but I mean, take that with a grain of salt. I'm not 100% sure, but that's at least what I've heard. So maybe that could factor in, like, oh, like this guy's a more conservative Democrat. Maybe some Republicans will vote for him. I think one poll came out showing Tate Reeves only leading by +4 from Siena. I mean, very, very early poll, but that's notable. So I'm not sure. I actually still think, like, okay, maybe Democrats have a shot if it's a really messy primary and there's a lot of mudslinging. But I think right now I'm still in kind of that solid boat. I think it's going to be above +10. So I think I'd put this solid.
Yeah, this is honestly just solid. It's gonna take quite a bit for this to change, in my opinion, from the solid characterization. I think these two firms are just, they don't want to go too
Want to be
far.
careful. They want to be
They
careful right at the beginning.
Yeah.
But we're pretty bullish. We're pretty bullish. Yeah.
All right. All right, we'll go to Louisiana. And Louisiana is the final race, obviously. There is an incumbent Democrat, but he is term limited, so he can't run again. So what's going to happen is, he's going to probably try to leave a legacy of another Democrat, and we'll see if that can happen. There's a few notable names in the state of Louisiana, but Louisiana is just honestly a very, very Republican, honestly. And even though they have an incumbent governor, I think with the incumbent governor, as he goes away, so does die the Democrat governorship here. We're sort of past the time of bipartisanship in this country, in my opinion. We're really against, people from our voting for people of the opposite party in many cases.
I will note though, in 2022, that did come back a little bit. There's a little more.
It did come back a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna come back enough. For example, I don't think, Charlie Baker or people like that, even if they put up their lieutenant governor, they would fare a lot worse because people like a certain name when it comes to bipartisanship, voting for the other side. And once that name goes away, they just don't feel the same, they don't feel the same pull towards the incumbent, which, is a very big part of this. And obviously we have a lot of names here in the Wikipedia. You might recognize Mitch Landrieu, who's probably the most well-known on the list, but we'll see if he even decides to run. A lot of these people are a lot more polarizing than John Bell Edwards. They're a lot more, solidly Democrat, even progressive. So it's going to turn off a lot of Republicans that they would need to win to get this. And I think the Republicans are going to take this. The primary is a little messy. Like, we don't know what's going to happen here, but yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to note, like, even John Bell Edwards is a more conservative Democrat. Like, he's pro-life. For example, like, even John Bell Edwards, like as an incumbent, struggled to win a bit in Louisiana in 2019 when he would have the advantage because obviously Trump was the incumbent president, so he would benefit from that because of the backlash. So, he even struggled. He only won his race for governor in 2019 by like 2 or 3 points, which is like nothing. I think the election before that, he was winning by like over 10. So even he is struggling to win. So I struggle to see how a Democrat who is not going to be as conservative John Bel Edwards as it looks, because like the Democrats that are being put up right now, like putting up right now as potential candidates aren't like as conservative as him. I struggle to see how they could win. And the Republicans are, I mean, it's going to be an open seat. The Republicans are putting up all their best candidates, like Jeff
lots of
Larney,
good
for example. Yeah.
candidates.
So like, yeah, the Attorney General, the State Treasurer, like they're going all out on this. So I don't see any way the Republicans really lose Louisiana here. So I think it's going to be solid, like definitely.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you run the majority leader of your state senate, you run your attorney general, and you go up against basically a nobody.
And appointed. Yeah,
right.
like
so it's very rough to see how Democrats can win. Yeah, I think the only thing that could save the Democrats potentially here is like a really weird Louisiana voting system, but it's probably just not going to happen. Like you can see up here, the election's in October, so it's very, very weird. And I think if no one wins in October outright, there's an election like December or something. I don't know. It's just really, really weird. That might be the only possible way a Democrat can continue.
The jungle primary system.
Yeah,
like the jungle system. Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, it's just not going to happen in my opinion. This is a solid red state, and it is a flip for the Republicans who need that flip actually to keep control of their governorships. Mississippi is going Republican. Louisiana is going Republican. I'll just put them as likely so that you can tell.
Yeah, see the changes.
See the changes that we're putting up, and we're putting Kentucky as Democrat. So after this cycle, we're predicting 27 Republican governors, up from 26, which they had following the 2022 election. So yeah, I mean, Democrats are still going to continue to struggle to get a majority of governorships, which hasn't happened for a very, very long time. So they're going to need to step up their game in the future to flip some seats back and hold on to their remaining ones. So yeah, thanks for watching. That's pretty much it. Just a first look into the governor's races in the 2023 cycle. Make sure to leave a like again, subscribe, leave a comment to help us with the YouTube algorithm.
Oh, and of course, share with your friends. Get this out there. We have some awesome political content. Check it out. Yes.
All right. Best Bipartisanship on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
See ya.